physical world. So we have to learn how to live and survive in a physical world. We can't live based on fairy tale ideas flying about. All the ideas should have a practical use. So use the understanding of God, spirituality, angels, masters to work here. How can we use this and to express it here, okay? So, when it comes to economy, well, we know that the economy is already collapsing and will collapse even more when a solar storm affects the satellite systems. But, well, that's another story and we'll see it later. The economy doesn't fall because it's bad or it's negative. It begins to collapse when it gets worn out, when it is overused and abused. This is what's happening now. There are so many numbers, banks, and that it's beginning to fail. It ends when it begins to empty itself. That's why many young ones are emptying the adults' pockets, okay? This doesn't mean that it's the positive or only way of doing it. It's happening by force because it's got stuck. So, society will end up falling. Okay, also because during Pisces the tendency was for society to unite in groups, associations, with a name, a flag, with a common aim, for everyone to collaborate for the same thing. But in Aquarius, the society is flexible. This means I can create a group which can last just one day. But during that day, I collaborated with something. I helped to make something. You know, it's like I met with a lot of people, I did what I had to do, and it's time for me to continue my process. And again, meet with another group to collaborate and continue with my process, all right? It's a continuous process. It's a kind of wave that we practice between individuals and groups, yeah? So we go from groups to being again alone, we go back to another group and we become alone again. So the group isn't going to be the most important, but it's going to be each individual journey. So society is going to change by breaking down everything which is social organizations to create social networks. So before we would meet in a house to discuss how to solve the world problems, and now we are going to go to Facebook, for example, and in Facebook I connect or I'm in if I feel like it. If I don't want to, I don't exist. I decide where I go and what I share and when I want to share it. It's flexible, okay? So there's going to be a total flexibility. And politics will fall by its own because politics is just a propaganda. Politics is the pineal gland of our physical body, the part that controls and organizes the rest. But if it's based on something absurd, then the rest won't work. Politics, or the pineal gland, is a propaganda which all the rest of the chakras listen to. Politics is a propaganda, so this whole thing of saying that, for example, Coca-Cola is bad and don't drink it because it's bad, most surely what's going to happen is that you're going to think about that Coca-Cola and end up having one. If I say, for example, that politics is bad and negative and that there are political conspiracies, then one is going to think constantly in the conspiracies and end up giving it energy. How can we end with a propaganda? Well, when one begins to ignore the propaganda. This way, the propaganda loses strength and it ends up falling by its own. Some say, if we don't vote, the bad ones will win at the end. Well, let them win. So what? When they win, they're going to face such a disaster that they're not going to know what to do. So worse for them. Just let them be then. So, what I'm most interested to share about all of this is the following. What is the base or the pillar of a society? Which is the most important aspect to change, which will affect and change the rest? Education? Family? What do you think? Family? The economy, yes. Economy is the pillar of any society. We don't like it because it's been perverted. In our physical body, Which chakra is the economy? Yeah? You're going to want to die. Yes, it's the heart. Okay? The heart is the bank, and the blood is the money or material goods. What's wrong with the current use of the economy today? Where does all the money go to? To the heart, to the bank. And if all the blood, money, goes to the heart, what happens? You have a heart attack. That's what's happening with the economy today, okay? So all the blood is going towards the heart. That's why the economy is exploding everywhere, because the system can't bear it no longer. The heart has to give blood to all the parts of the body, and wherever it's lacking blood, it must go there. It has to be balanced. And why? Have you ever heard the saying, full belly, happy heart? Well, the physical society doesn't sustain itself from the mind or the heart. It can only sustain itself by feeding itself. Alimentation is crucial. So really, to start the change from the family is a bit difficult, because the family has to survive economically. Without a balanced economy, the family can't sustain itself. How can I teach my son or daughter to create a new society if we are sustaining ourselves in a banking society? It's a bit difficult. Education, either, because the teacher has to pay his or her rent, tax, and other things. So he ends up or she ends up tired at the end of the day, and when she arrives at school, she just tells the students to read page 28 and shut up. Society is formed by the movement of its members, who move the economy. If the heart doesn't change, neither the movement of its members. Politics is the pineal gland. If the heart stops, the mind dies. So the heart economy is the change of all societies. The best way to begin a subtle change is to combine the changes of the economy and the education, so that education can help to create a new sustained society, not a political society, but a sustainable society. So it's going to be very important to heal the beliefs we've got about economy. One has to relax, breathe deeply, and let free. When will these changes take place? That's where we are now, between Pisces and Aquarius 2012. This is how the change is going to take place. Can you see the line that splits both ages? Can you see that the blue goes into Pisces and the red inside Aquarius before and after 2012? That process is what we call transition and lasts about 200 years. The Aquarius vibration began about 100 years ago on Earth, especially in the 40s and 50s. It began to vibrate more and more intensely, and now we are vibrating a fair bit of it. In 2012, we go to the Aquarian age, more or less. But look how the Pisces vibration continues into Aquarius. During this period, we are going to have to integrate the history of Pisces. In the next 100 years, we're going to have to integrate Pisces, like I say. We are still going to be having systems and social conflicts. Things aren't going to change from one day to another. In one day, maybe things begin to collapse so that we can begin to integrate it. But it doesn't end, it just collapses, which is quite different. On the 21st of December 2012, the two suns align. After this, we enter into a process during 2013 and 2014 of constant transformation of things. Remember that the future is just a projection of the past, which means it's predictable but not exact, because it's constantly vibrating very high. So what we think or say is going to happen is not necessarily going to happen. What's going to happen depends on how we are vibrating at the moment. I can tell you, what should happen in 2013 according to the plan, but because it depends on what will be done and happen here, it's never going to be exact.
Pero como depende de lo que se haga aquí, lo que suceda, nunca es exacto el futuro. ¿Qué sucede en el futuro?
So, during the alignment of the two suns with our planet, a great burst of light from the central sun is going to affect us. For you to understand, our planet represents the finger articulation. The sun is the wrist articulation. The elbow represents Sirius. The shoulder represents Alcyon, another important star located in the Pleiades. And the heart is the central sun of the galaxy. We all move this way, okay? And during 2012, we are going to do this. All the suns align towards Earth. This means that the pulse of the central sun points directly towards us. Another sun isn't going to appear on the horizon like some have said. If this happens, I'd advise you to begin to run away now. This pulse of the central sun will reactivate the other suns, especially our sun, creating sunstorms which will burst out huge electromagnetic waves towards the planet. The first planet to be affected will be Mercury, then Venus, and after Earth. Earth has an electromagnetic shield to protect us from the excess of electromagnetism. The problem here is that this doesn't cover our satellites. What does this mean? They may be, maybe all the communication on our planet will collapse. When this happens, everything, which is communication or finances, will be deleted. And this maybe will be the crisis that everyone is talking about.
Cuando colapsan todas las comunicaciones sobre el planeta Tierra, se borra todo lo que es comunicación y todo lo que es financiero. De ahí la crisis que están esperando.
Because when the computers begin to fail, then you'll end up with the 4 euros you had in your pocket. The comments of the lady. Will my mortgage also be deleted?
Si tengo una hipoteca, si se borra.
Who knows? If they printed it before, well, maybe you'll still be screwed. Well, everything that appears as 0 and 1s on the computer system will begin to go crazy. So the main problem will be for those who are attached to the financial system, those with credit cards and all that type of things. It's not that money will disappear forever. What will end is the financial accumulation of money. That's the only difference. During this process, maybe many people will go vibrationally unstable because when the vibration of the planet begins to increase, then our brain vibration will also increase. And here is what the whole consciousness change of 2012 talks about. This doesn't really mean that we are going to connect with the spirit again, but probably it'll create in some people a certain unbalance where before they were very structured. So for some people who are vibrating in a structured manner will suddenly activate their right brain suddenly and begin to see things and go half schizophrenic for a while. And maybe those who are connected will suddenly close down. So this doesn't mean we are entering an age where we are going to all be connected again, but we are going to transform ourselves. That's the important part. And there's going to be a new consciousness because there's going to be something different. This will last for some years, and the social process will last for about 50 to 60 years. So relax again. It's a social process, not a process in our life.
¿sí? Por lo tanto, relájense. Otra vez. Es un proceso social, no un proceso de nuestra vida. Nuestra vida puede cambiar en 2 días.
So your life may change in 2 days, but to change a society it takes years. So don't expect things to do drastically change suddenly. The satellite system may break down suddenly, but the rest will take its time. So the main basis and pillars to understand how to live through this process now, I'm going to explain that. Well, we have to remember that to be able to channel light, we have to know that we are here for that purpose. In Aquarius, we're going to channel the light through a different process. Well, first of all, what's important to know is it's going to be a process of individuality. During 2,000 years, we are going to practice, experience an individual process, not so much to depend on others. Each person should know what they have to do and when they have to do it. That's why associations and relationships are starting to fail, and people are feeling a bit lonely more than ever. Even the spiritual guides who were constantly around us are letting go to see if we can start walking all right. So if you feel lonely, try to enjoy it. Don't be afraid of being alone, because individuality is going to be a process to work on. Number 2 is self-direction. From now on, the spiritual masters are going to become learning partners. They were helping to guide us before when we were completely lost, but now our process is going to be individual and not in group. So we don't need masters. Each person knows what they have to do and where they have to go. If someone tells you to begin to stock on food and run to the mountains to save yourself, don't necessarily take a notice, because maybe your path must be done in the middle of the city. Each person knows what they have to do. They have agreed it before. So it's important to flow and do what one feels they have to do. Number 3, spiritual authority. We don't necessarily have to become spiritual and neither be authoritarian. We have to join light with darkness. When we begin to join and understand both, then we begin to be our own spiritual authority. This means we become an integrated being who knows what they have to say when they have to say it. And it doesn't matter if it bothers someone. If it does bother someone, there must be a reason for it. Something must have affected them inside. Number 4 is anchorage. To be here and now, present. Not to fly around the atmosphere. To be here, because our process was to get born here, to bring Earth back to heaven. Okay? And number 5, ego. Anyone knows what the ego is? It's our personality. There is a misunderstanding about the ego. Many understand it as something negative. This idea of deleting the ego to become pure again. Ego means I in Latin. I can't delete my I. What I can do is balance it. So it doesn't become egocentric or selfish. I have to balance it. This is an important difference. We have to be full and balanced during the time we are doing what we have to do here. And for this to be possible, we need our ego. Ego supremum is big I am. So even if someone is trying to influence your process, you have to determine your boundaries. For everyone to know that it's your process and you can't decide for others, nor others can decide for you. And for this it's important, the ego. Number 6, love. Unconditional love, which means to accept the process of the others. The day we begin to accept the process of even the worst politicians, the occults, the Illuminatis, and all this, to accept that their role is important for certain things, just that they are doing it in a negative way because they don't really know how to do it well. The day we integrate all this, we will begin to live unconditional love. Unconditional love isn't selective. It's not just for the few good ones. It's for everyone. We are all in the process. So take this into consideration when the time comes to practice it. Number 7, stability. It is very important, and it can only be achieved through this detachment. Not detachment of leaving everything, but to not be affected if one has things or not. If I have a lot of things, don't be affected. If you don't have if you have a lot of things, don't be affected by it. What's important is to live in harmony and balance so that we don't get emotionally affected from what's happening outside. This way we can obtain stability. But we can't achieve any of these things without happiness. For about approximately 10,000 years, humans have made an important mistake, which was to search for happiness. People did things to find happiness. What is humanity's aim? To be happy. That's probably why they never find it. Happiness shouldn't be an aim, but a state of being during the journey. Happiness is the pillar to achieve the rest, not the rest to find happiness. So you should try to be happy. How? However you want to, laughing, saying stupid things, enjoying matter and spirituality in matter. Us as Westerners, we don't have a doctrine, we have fluidity. So enjoy the fluidity and laughing in that fluidity.
Disfrutando, riéndose, diciendo tonterías, disfrutando de la materia, ¿vale? Disfrutando de la espiritualidad en la materia, de lo que sea, ¿vale? Nosotros como occidentales no tenemos doctrina, tenemos fluir, ¿sí? Por tanto, disfrutar ese fluir y reírse en ese fluir. La risa eleva.
Laughing rises the vibration of our body up to the 7th dimension. So it's important to laugh and say stupid things. So when you read 7th dimension and you say, "Oh, my master," you'll probably hear him say, "Look what a stupid face you got on you." Don't worry if this happens, probably you just needed a bit more laughter.
No se asusten, no es que lo han hecho mal, ¿sí? Sino que falta un poco más de risa.
My advice to live during these times. First of all, breathing. To breathe appropriately, deeply and constantly, and with the abdomen, not with the lungs. With the lungs, we mobilize our emotions and work towards outwards. With our stomach, we integrate everything that was old to be useful for what's new. So a lot of abdominal breathing, because it also activates the energetic pattern that surrounds us. Number 2, how we feed ourselves. To eat what the body needs, not what you believe your body needs. If the body just needs water, give it water. If it needs meat, then meat. It's important to respect the needs of our body. Okay? Number 3 is anchorage, to be here and now. The 3 things in this order reflects the following. To be trees. Everything you do with your breathing, feeding, and anchorage can be understood by being trees. They are the best masters we can have during the next 2,000 years. Why? First of all, because they don't speak. They only respond by being. They breathe in light. They channel and transform it through their feeding system. They take it down to earth by being present on earth, and they give it back to all the other beings which are outwards. That sums up everything from the origin of the universe. So we are universes practicing inside another universe, helping this big universe to understand itself by understanding ourselves. We have to do it by living happily everything that is in this universe, allowing ourselves to flow in that universe, experimenting everything we can in this universe. And the best way to do it is as simple as breathing, eating, and being present like trees.
Permitiéndonos fluir dentro de su universo, experimentando todo lo que se pueda dentro de este universo. Y la mejor manera de hacerlo, tan sencilla, es respirar, alimentarse y estar presentes como árboles. ¿Sí?
So, from now on, each of us has the answer within to know how to live our future. It doesn't matter what's going to happen in the future. What's important is for it to happen and for you to enjoy it. So when you finish listening to this, do something stupid, go to the cinema, eat something solid, go for a walk. Whatever you want to do. And please, try forget about everything you heard here for a couple of days. Because the idea is for the information to resonate in your cells and not in your left brain, like up to now.
Sobre todo esto que estuve diciendo, ¿sí? Ya que la idea es que resuene en sus células, no en su hemisferio izquierdo como hasta ahora, ¿vale? Bueno.
Well, seeing that it's so late and they're gonna close us in here, just this. My advice, be trees, enjoy yourself, laugh, forget about this for a couple of days, and thanks a lot to be present here in this process now. Thanks.
Y muchas gracias por haber elegido nacer en este proceso.